The moment my lips met Rowan's in front of the entire crew during the ranch challenge on Wild West realities, I thought it was just a silly dare to boost ratings. But as the cameras rolled and the crowd cheered, Rowan didn't pull away like I expected. Instead, she held me tighter, her green eyes locking onto mine with a desperation that sent chills down my spine, and in that split second between takes she whispered, "My real name is Rebecca Hale and you've just ruined everything for the Hale millions." I blinked, the dust from the Texas plains swirling around us, my heart pounding not just from the kiss but from the weight of her words. Here I was, Amber Thompson, a 28-year-old marketing executive from New York who had signed up for this reality show to escape my 9-to-5 grind, now standing in the middle of nowhere with a woman who wasn't just any cowgirl. Rowan, or Rebecca, had been the toughest competitor on the show, the one who could rope a calf in seconds and fix a fence like it was nothing. But heiress? To what? The Hale Ranch was legendary, a sprawling empire worth tens of millions, owned by one of Texas's most conservative families, pillars of the local church community. Before I could respond, the producer yelled, "Cut!" and pulled us apart for the next segment. But Rowan grabbed my wrist, her calloused hand surprisingly gentle. "Don't say anything. Please. My family thinks I'm dead. Or at least gone for good. If they see this," her voice trailed off as the reality of the situation hit me. This wasn't just a TV stunt. The kiss had been broadcast live to millions, and if her family was watching, and they probably were, given their strict traditional values, they'd know their lost daughter was alive and worse, involved in something that clashed with everything they believed in. The rest of the day was a blur of challenges, herding cattle, building fires, but my mind kept replaying that kiss. It wasn't supposed to mean anything. The dare came from the group. "Kiss the hottest cowgirl here for good luck." I'd laughed it off, chosen Rowan because she seemed safe, untouchable. But the way she kissed back, it felt real, like she'd been waiting for someone to see her. That night around the campfire, the other contestants joked about it, but Rowan sat apart, staring into the flames. I approached her, the stars above the Texas sky brighter than any I'd seen in the city. "So Rebecca Hale, huh? Care to explain why a multimillionaire heiress is playing cowgirl on a reality show?" She sighed, her blonde hair tied back under her hat. "It's complicated, Amber. My family, they're deep in the church. My father built the Hale empire on faith and hard work. The will is clear. To inherit, you have to uphold the family values. Marriage to a good Christian man, no scandals. I left 5 years ago because I couldn't pretend anymore. I'm not like them. I like women. But coming out would mean losing everything. And my mother, she'd never forgive me. Religion for them isn't just Sunday, it's the law." Her words hung heavy. I wasn't religious myself. My parents were casual, and I'd always believed in living true to yourself. But hearing her, I saw the pain. No one was forcing her. It was her choice to hide. Yet the system, the tradition, trapped her. We talked until the fire died. Her voice soft but steady as she described the pressure. Sunday sermons on sin. The expectation to settle down with a rancher's son. The community that would turn its back if the truth came out. I listened, nodding, but inside something shifted. This kiss had cracked open a door I didn't know existed. The next morning, the show producer pulled me aside. "Amber, the network loves the chemistry between you and Rowan, but we just got a call. Some lawyers from Hale Enterprises are on their way. Apparently, Rowan's family saw the kiss. This is gold for ratings, but you might want to talk to her." My stomach dropped. The main conflict was here. The secret was out, and I was now part of it. Little did I know this was only the beginning of the battles to come, internal and external, that would force us to question everything we believed in. The lawyers arrived the next day in black SUVs, kicking up dust across the ranch set like a storm rolling in from the plains. 2 men in crisp suits and a woman who looked like she could run a boardroom and a prayer meeting at the same time stepped out, their eyes scanning the contestants until they landed on Rowan. She stiffened beside me, her hand brushing mine for the briefest second before she stepped forward. "I'm Rebecca," she said quietly, dropping the Rowan name like an old coat. The lead lawyer, Mr. Caldwell, didn't smile. "Your father requests your immediate return to the estate. The board is convening an emergency meeting regarding the trust. And this footage has complicated matters." I stood there, heart racing, as Rowan glanced back at me. The kiss had been replayed on every social feed overnight. Comments ranged from supportive to vicious, but the Hale family's private jet was already fueled. Rowan turned to me. "Come with me, Amber. I can't face them alone." I should have said no. I had a life in New York, a job waiting. But the way her voice cracked made me nod. By evening we were in the back of a luxury SUV heading toward the Hale estate. A sprawling white-columned mansion that looked more like a southern plantation than a Texas ranch. The drive gave us time to talk. Rowan Rebecca opened up about the will her grandfather had written 30 years ago. It stipulated that the primary heir must demonstrate moral uprightness, defined by the family's interpretation of Scripture. Heterosexual marriage, church involvement, no public scandal. Her father had already threatened to redirect the millions to her cousin if she didn't comply. "They think they're saving my soul," she said, staring out at the passing fields. "And maybe part of me wonders if they're right." I grew up believing it too. Every sermon, every prayer meeting drilled it in. But then I met women who made me feel alive in a way no man ever could. How do you reconcile that? I didn't have answers. My own life had been free of such weight, college parties, casual dates, no one quoting Leviticus at me. Yet listening to her made me realize how easy my freedom had been. When we pulled up to the mansion, her mother was waiting on the porch, Bible in hand, eyes red from crying. "Rebecca, what have you done?" she whispered. The hug was tight, but the words that followed were sharper. "That girl on the show, she's confused you. We can fix this. Pastor Ellis is already here." Inside, the tension thickened. Pastor Ellis, a kind-faced man in his 60s, sat at the long oak table with Rowan's father, a stern rancher named Thomas Hale. They didn't yell. That was the hardest part. Thomas spoke calmly. "We love you, daughter. This isn't hate. It's protection. The ranch employs 200 families. The church charities depend on our stability. If the will is broken, everything crumbles. And your soul, the Bible is clear on marriage and relationships." Rowan's eyes filled with tears. "Dad, I've prayed about this for years. What if God made me this way? What if love is the point?" The pastor nodded gently. "Love is the point, Rebecca, but so is obedience. We're not here to condemn. We're here to help you choose the path that honors both." I sat silent, feeling like an intruder. Yet Rowan reached for my hand under the table, and in that small gesture I felt the first real spark of something deeper than a dare. The debate stretched late into the night, no one raising their voice, everyone convinced they were right. By the time we were shown to separate guest rooms, I lay awake wondering how a single kiss had pulled me into a war where love, faith, and millions hung in the balance. Morning brought more than coffee. Lawyers spread documents across the dining table like battle plans. The trust fund clause was ironclad. Any lifestyle contrary to biblical standards could trigger a review by the board. Photos from the show were printed in color. My lips on Rowan's, her hand on my waist. Mrs. Hale wiped her eyes. "We can spin this as youthful confusion, Rebecca. A phase. But you must denounce it publicly. Marry Daniel Whitaker, he's always loved you, and his family aligns with ours. The ranch stays whole." Rowan's jaw tightened. "I'm not confused, Mom. And I won't marry a man to keep money I never asked for." I watched from the doorway, coffee mug growing cold in my hands. Part of me wanted to leave, to let her family handle their legacy. But another part, the part that had felt the truth in that kiss, stayed. Later, in the stables, Rowan found me brushing one of the horses. "You don't have to stay, Amber. This isn't your fight." I set the brush down. "It became mine the second you kissed me back. Tell me what you really want." She leaned against the stall, hat low. "I want to be honest. For once. But every time I imagine walking away from this place, I see the workers losing jobs, the church programs shutting down. My father built this from nothing after Grandpa died. Is my happiness worth that?" We talked for hours. She told me about the youth group trips, the purity rings, the way her parents had cried when she left at 23 without explanation. I shared my own lighter stories, coming out to my mom over brunch, no drama, just a hug. The contrast stung. That afternoon, the board called a video meeting. Cousins, uncles, even the family attorney joined. Voices overlapped. Think of the community. God tests us. Rowan stood tall. "I've thought of nothing else for 5 years. But I can't live a lie anymore. Her father's face on the screen remained calm. Then you understand the consequences, daughter. The meeting ended with a 30-day window to decide. Rowan and I walked the grounds after, the Texas sun warm on our skin. She took my hand openly this time. I've never had someone see the real me and stay. The touch lingered soft and certain. Yet inside I felt the growing weight. My presence had accelerated everything. Was I helping her find herself or destroying the only world she'd known? Evening brought another quiet clash. Mrs. Hale invited me to the family chapel for prayer. I went out of respect. She opened the Bible to Romans and read gently. We all fall short. But grace is there if we turn back. I listened, not arguing. But when she asked if I believed in repentance, I answered honestly. I believe in love that doesn't require changing who you are. She didn't condemn me. She simply said, then pray for my daughter. She's torn between two truths, and only one can win. Walking back to the house, I realized no one here was the villain. They were people who had built their lives on conviction, the same way I had built mine on freedom. The question was which conviction could survive the collision. The 30 days blurred into a pressure cooker of meetings, church services, and late-night talks with Rowan. The show had ended, but footage of our kiss kept resurfacing online, fueling tabloid headlines that the Hale lawyers tried to bury. Each time a new article dropped, Thomas Hale's face grew tighter. One evening he asked me to join him on the back porch. I don't blame you, Amber. You didn't know. But now you do. My daughter has always been strong-willed. If you truly care for her, help her see what she's risking. Not just money, but the life we built to serve others. He spoke without anger, only a father's exhaustion. I nodded, throat tight. I'm not here to take anything from her. But I won't ask her to be someone she isn't. Rowan and I stole moments alone. Rides across the back pastures, quiet dinners in town where no one knew us. The more time we spent together, the clearer it became. This wasn't just attraction anymore. Her laugh when I tried to rope a dummy calf, the way she looked at me when she thought I wasn't watching, it was love, simple and terrifying. One night under a blanket of stars she turned to me. I used to pray every night for God to change me. Then I stopped praying and started running. Being with you feels like the first honest prayer I've ever had. I kissed her then, slower than the dare, deeper than the cameras. No one interrupted. But the next morning the board sent a formal letter. Sign the morality clause and accept an arranged courtship, or forfeit the primary share of the estate. The family gathered again. Pastor Ellis led a prayer first, asking for wisdom. Then the documents were laid out. Rowan's cousin Marcus, a quiet accountant, spoke up unexpectedly. I don't want the ranch if it means forcing Rebecca into a life she hates. But the will is the will. Millions aren't just numbers, they're jobs, scholarships, hospital wings named after Grandpa. Rowan looked at each face. I love this family. I love what we've built. But I love Amber too. And I love the version of myself I'm finally becoming. Her mother reached across the table. We love that version too, baby. We just want her safe in God's eyes. Tears fell, but no one shouted. The room felt heavy with shared sorrow rather than rage. That night Rowan and I sat on the porch swing. I have to choose, she said. Not between you and them, between the life they planned and the life I choose. Whatever I pick, someone loses. I held her hand. You're not responsible for their happiness. But you are responsible for yours. She leaned her head on my shoulder. I know. I just never thought choosing myself would feel like breaking everyone else. The swing creaked softly while inside the house lights stayed on late, prayers continuing. I realized then that the real war wasn't about money or even faith. It was about two versions of love, protective and liberating, neither willing to yield. The board meeting was set for the last day of the window. Rowan spent the morning walking the land she might lose, touching fence posts her grandfather had hammered, visiting the small chapel where she'd been baptized. I followed at a distance, giving her space, but when she reached for me I was there. I've decided, she said simply. I'm not signing. I can't. The words landed like stones in still water. We drove to the lawyer's office together. Cameras waited outside. Somehow the press had gotten wind. Inside, the room was silent as Rowan slid the unsigned papers across the table. The ranch, the trust, the name, none of it is worth living a lie. I'll walk away clean. Her father stood slowly. Then you understand the clause activates at midnight. The estate redistributes. Mrs. Hale covered her mouth, tears streaming. Pastor Ellis placed a hand on Thomas's shoulder. We've done all we can. The rest is between her and the Lord. No yelling, no threats. Just the quiet sound of a family fracturing along lines of conviction. Marcus, the cousin, surprised everyone by saying, I'll make sure the workers stay employed. The charities too. But Rebecca, I hope you find peace. We left the building into a wall of flashing lights. Rowan kept her head high, my hand in hers the only anchor. The following weeks were brutal. Rowan moved into a small apartment in Austin with me. My New York lease had ended and Texas felt right now. The money she had saved from ranch work before disappearing was enough for basics, but the loss hit in waves. She woke some nights reaching for her hat, whispering names of horses she'd never see again. I held her, but guilt gnawed at me. If I hadn't taken that dare, she stopped me every time. The dare only showed what was already there. I chose this, Amber. Every step. Still, watching her scroll through old family photos, I saw the cost. One Sunday she asked me to attend church with her. Not the Hale family one, but a smaller affirming congregation in the city. We sat in the back. The pastor spoke on love without conditions. Rowan cried quietly through the hymns. Afterward she said, I still believe in God. I just don't believe he hates me for this. I squeezed her hand. Then maybe that's enough. But outside a reporter waited. Miss Hale, any comment on the family statement that you've turned your back on your heritage? Rowan answered softly, I turn toward honesty. The heritage I keep is the love they taught me. Love that doesn't require me to be someone else. The statement from the family had been measured. We pray for Rebecca's return to the path of righteousness, and will continue supporting the community she once loved. No hate mail, just distance. The ache of that distance grew daily. Rowan started working at a local stable, teaching kids to ride, but evenings she stared at the ceiling. I keep thinking about the hospital wing Dad wanted to name after me. All those people who won't get help now. I reminded her the money was still going to charity just through Marcus. She nodded, but the responsibility she carried was heavier than any ranch gate. 6 months later we stood on a small hill overlooking a modest ranch we'd scraped together with loans and hard work. 20 acres, enough for horses and hope. Rowan's hands were calloused again, but the light in her eyes had returned. The family still hadn't called, though Marcus sent occasional updates. The empire thrived under new leadership. The church programs continued. One letter from her mother arrived on our doorstep last week. It contained no demands, only a single verse. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. No signature beyond praying for you always. Rowan read it aloud, voice steady, then folded it carefully. They're not wrong for believing what they believe. And I'm not wrong for choosing what I choose. That's the part nobody tells you. Sometimes both sides can be right and still lose something beautiful. We sat on the porch steps as the sun dipped behind the hills, the same golden light that had framed our first real kiss. I turned to her. Do you ever regret it? She smiled, the kind that reached her eyes now. I regret the pain it caused them, but I don't regret us. I finally understand what responsibility really means. Not protecting everyone else's dreams at the cost of my own soul, but owning the life I build and the love I give. She took my hand, thumb tracing the spot where a ring might one day sit. We lost millions, families, certainty, but we gained each other without shadows. As the stars appeared, I thought about the road that had brought us here. The dare, the whispers, the prayers, the tears. No dramatic victory, no sudden forgiveness. Just two women who had chosen truth over comfort, and now carried the weight of that choice with open eyes. The mansion and the church steeple were far away, but their lessons remained. Love could be both the greatest gift and the deepest wound. Rowan leaned her head on my shoulder. In the quiet, I finally asked the question that had followed us through every debate and every sleepless night. True or false? Does choosing your own heart always justify the pain it causes to those who raised you with their whole world?